performance oriented at all, which when there's no expectations makes everything above par just hilarious to experience. That's really why I make these videos. I'm not an automotive historian. I want to critique the experience of the driving. What gets you excited when you sit in this driver's seat? That's what I'm trying to come up with and try to convey to someone who might be interested in buying it or just. Howdy, my name is Troy and welcome back to the Addicted Motors YouTube channel. Now, today's video is not going to feature Land Rovers, which I'm pretty excited about. Sure, something way better and something I've kind of wanted to drive for a while. And now this particular truck is one that you might have seen pictures of on the channel here and there. It is a Steyr-puch 280 GE, a baby G-Wagon. I don't know every little piece of history and fact about that. You guys, if you're interested in the background and the history of this truck that, again, Steyr-puch produced and built these things for Mercedes-Benz, and they also kind of sold them on the side. Who knows what the exact breakdown of it is, but I'm gonna go check one out, so follow along. And hey, a little bit of behind the scenes here, I guess. You know, I've recently moved. I'll do a little walkthrough tour of the new garage, house setup and everything. This is kind of a bit of my daily routine, right? I wake up, go to the gym, I drive whatever car I want to leave at the shop to the shop, and then I pick up a sales car or something that's been left there by a customer or a client or someone who is looking to help or receive assistance selling a vehicle. Usually it's customers that we've serviced the car with. And then again, without a whole lot of background, I pick it up and take it for a spin and make a video on it. We're gonna go do that right now. We're gonna pick this thing up. I drove it yesterday just to make sure that it was functional, but I didn't really take it on a long drive, just went around the block, make sure that everything was working. So we're gonna go take it on a bit of a little ride back to my house, which is now farther away from the shop. So a bit of a longer test drive, which I think is good for the cars, and it's probably a little better for the content, a little bit of highway and mixed driving as well. So let's get to it. All right, we're here now. Look at this lineup behind me. 560 SL Lotus Esprit Steyr-puch G-Wagon. Let's just call it a G-Wagon. Come on, I'm not that fancy. But right there, Puck, little baby G. Now, you can like a Defender and a Land Rover, but when it comes to what you really want is the G-Wagon. And this thing is sick, right? I mean, the color, it's actually the fact that it's not a G-Wagon, it's like the more industrial version, it's the more pure version of it, makes it even cooler. I don't think it makes it any faster because this thing is pretty slow, especially with the 4-speed automatic. A little 280 straight 6 that it has is probably the same, was it M112, M something? I don't know, you can correct me in the comments. It's, you know, the early W126 Mercedes had that engine as well. You could probably get it in a W123 as well, which is probably not in the States, but it's very much tractor engine. So let's just do a quick once around this thing. Awesome boxy line. I don't think this thing needs any introduction, right? It is basically a G-Wagon, just not branded as a Mercedes. Definitely all the cool little import bits. I don't know the full history of it. I don't know. I mean, he's had it for a very long time. This owner also has a couple other G-Wagons. I think he's got an 03 that he bought new. So again, you'd potentially be buying this because it is for sale from the right type of owner. And you know, that also adds a little bit of inherent value, I think, to things. So we have to do it. We got to do it. I mean, that's legitimate. I mean, there's still very few, even like a W123, W126, you can do it, but it does it better. Maybe it's the greenhouse boxy glassness that just adds a little bit of kick to it. This particular truck's an automatic, which is interesting. I'm fine with that. I think it's probably just a different type. It will create a different driving experience. I'm not shoving gears and trying to get the most power out of this because it is very slow. It'll just kind of be let's just drive it without trying to goose it because it's so slow. All right, let's do that. Fires right up. It's weird that it's not a diesel, right? You know, coming from the Defender world, 200 TDI, 300 TDI, you're expecting that chugga chugga chugga. It does do chugga chugga chugga, but it's just a little more muted and a little more quiet in here. But real quick, check out this interior. I mean, tons of space, actually, and tons of space behind the rear seat also. It's just so funky, right? It's just such an interesting mix. You're used to potentially seeing that the Mercedes Beckman radio type deal, but it's not there. It's just a little bit different. But the steering wheel has a Mercedes emblem on it, and I'm sure there's a lot of nerds out there would love to correct me in everything I'm saying. But 43,000 miles, optimistic speedo of 150. It does have a little baby tack gauge. It's got center, front, and rear locking differentials. Beep boop, beep boop. Electric windows, an automatic 4-speed. Let's take it for a ride. That's really why I make these videos. I'm not an automotive historian. I want to critique the experience of the driving. What gets you excited when you sit in this driver's seat? That's what I'm trying to come up with and try to convey to someone who might be interested in buying an older G-Wagon, because they are becoming more popular. They are being imported more. There's less for sale than the oversaturated Defender market. So, you know, people get tired of things. Let's try something new. All right, let's get out of here. I'm gonna try something different. Put the window down here a little bit because it does not have, I think it has AC. I'm not sure if it's working or not. Got my car seat all the way in the back. Like I said, I still need to drop Max off at daycare later on. So I'm starting it in first gear because I think this, like other Mercedes, starts in second gear, which almost depletes the already lacking torque. Oh, not torque, probably just power. It has a little bit of torque. And shift. But this is definitely like a foot to the floor type of truck, which is fun. It is what it is. There's no expectations for this thing to be anything performance oriented at all, which when there's no expectations makes everything above par just hilarious to experience. Pull out here again, put that in first, very short first gear. As you can tell, obviously this thing is geared for off-roading. Now, instead of it having a D for drive, D is 4, so you just put it in 4. Suspension feels good for a boxy SUV. Brakes feel really good. I don't know if they're single piston or dual piston like a Defender versus a D1, but the brakes feel very confidence inspiring at, well, going 25 miles an hour. But going 25 miles an hour in this thing with the view out the front is fun. That's you know, it's what makes this feel like a little tank. And again, people throw around that drives like a tank, bulletproof, blah blah blah. I don't know, man. This actually does that. You know, you've got your turn signals that are fixed to the front fenders on either side. Everything is proportionate. Everything is hard lines. Let's put my foot to the floor. And even kick down. There you go. That little tachometer is hilarious. And it didn't do anything. It just kind of made some noise, which is exactly what you want. I think this thing's geared very low, which is probably appropriate for what it is. But I'm enjoying this driving experience so far. This is interesting and special, which, again, I'm a little bit jaded, having driven a lot of different old things, not so much new cars, but, you know, this is different. It's funky, and I can appreciate it. These oddly shaped, kind of rectangular mirrors actually work well. You know, it's the kind of little things about the design of this truck that definitely start, you have to pay attention to it, and you kind of pick up on it. Also, the amount of headroom in this is pretty wild. It feels cavernous. I'm 6'1", 6'2", and there is any inches of headroom over me. But it really, you know, it really does harken back to an era where a brand's identity could immediately be sensed or felt when getting in multiple models of their production cars. And even though this is not branded as a Mercedes, it essentially is for the most part. It feels like it. The quality, the touch of the materials, it just brings you back, just like my W126 SEC, to a different time and a usable time. It is a driver-friendly time of automobiles. I'm not saying that they're all 100% reliable and ready to run at all times, even though they're 30, 40 years old. If maintained, they can be used as a daily driver and driven. And that's kind of what this is. 43,000 miles. You know, besides getting the air conditioning working, this would be an awesome little city car. Well, we're gonna get ready to emerge on not a B road. Let's call it a little highway. And I've been told this thing kind of tops out gearing-wise around 60 miles per hour. Let's see if see if I even have time to make it up to 60. Turning on right now. Let's go. Short little wheelbase. I'm not saying it handles, but it doesn't fall on its face in a turn. My foot's to the floor. There it goes. There it goes. 3,500 RPM. We're pulling. It pulls around to 4,300. Oh, I'm going 60. Oh yeah, but that's all I got. That's really it. I mean, 60, I'm around 4,000 RPM. That is, there's no overdrive. Well, there is, fourth gear, but the way this thing's geared, it's not happening. That's awesome. Run around 3,500 RPM, which I think is probably fine. I think my brother had a Mercedes with an M103, right? 6-cylinder. And that would be around 3,400 RPM at 70, 80 miles an hour all day. Very happy to run those speeds. So this, yep, off-road truck. It's a utility vehicle. This is not meant for the highway. I mean, it can do it, but you know, it's built for a purpose, and you feel that purpose when you're in it. I know I'm probably rambling a little bit, but the fact that it has the compact sides, it's narrow, it's tall, you just want to slide it through. The fact that it feels so solid really kind of entices you to take it off-road and just kind of do something interesting with it, which is just, it's fun, it's cool, I like it, I want it. Okay, it definitely needs another gear. Again, not the end of the world, but man, if I could change one thing, it needs another gear. I wonder if it'll do this hill. Come on. Come on. I mean, I'm not losing power, so that's good. It's confident. That makes me feel better that it's not straining and lugging itself. You know, the fact that it's slow creates a game within itself. That means I just have to figure out how to drive tactically and really put some thought into it. Again, would I want to do that every day? No, but it adds to the game and the fun and the uniqueness of this type of driving experience. We'll get into the rest of the video in a second, but I'm taking Max to daycare. But when Mercedes does something, man, they just do it so right. Look how much room there is to access the back seat. Just, this thing just totally goes all the way forward like this, and there's no fumbling or fussing around to get in the back. Everyone can get in easily. It's just those little details just always impress you when it comes to you know, Mercedes designed or engineered or built products. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Run!
Well, we got the little 280 GE Steyr-puch G-Wagon, little baby G, all cleaned up. Let's take a quick look at it and kind of see what we're dealing here. Now, since again, this truck, let's call it a truck, is for sale, I want to kind of talk about, you know, when you're buying into something like this price point, this $20,000 to $30,000 range, interesting old quirky 4x4 off-roady type of, you know, could be a beach cruiser, could be a cars and coffee ice cream cruiser, could be an off-road cruiser. Like I said, something like this, it gives you a couple options for activities that go above and beyond just driving it around, which it's a plus, right? It adds to that user experience. It adds to, I think, the value and the versatility of making an expenditure, an automotive expenditure, that can be justified because you can do things with it. You can play with it, you can take it off-road, you can drive around town, the possibilities are expanded. It's just kind of like buying a car that can be multi-purpose use for, you know, vintage racing, a track day or something like that. It's more than just a means of transportation, which I think is huge. But what you're really buying into is you're buying into a hero car. You can start a whole YouTube channel on this type of truck, right? It's, you know, these weren't imported into the US until 2003, so it's kind of a gray market G-Wagon, if you want to put it like that, and kind of like a gray market AMG. I think it has a little bit more allure to it, a little bit of mystique to it. It's more of a conversation topic. You know, if a guy knows what it is, then it's a little more of a conversation topic than a 2014 G-Wagon or something like that. Not that those aren't interesting, but there's something more raw about getting the industrial version of the industrial version of the thing, and that's exactly what this kind of encompasses. Kind of fully functional. It's no nonsense, but the color and kind of the rest of the scheme and the boxiness kind of still makes it friendly and approachable. I think is kind of key when you make these type of purchases. Now, let's pop into the inside. Didn't really do a full walkthrough before, but the awesome checkered seats, Mercedes steering wheel. You know, it has all the right vents. This kind of utilitarianly hard plastic, but still maintaining a little bit of that Mercedes-ness with the historic Mercedes shifter. This is Mercedes. This looks like W116. A couple of these Mercedes looking headlight gauges. These look like they're out of a 140. Thin, narrow vents, flat dash. Can't really put a lot of things in there, but it'll fit. Cool kind of vinyl-y feeling top, even though it's not vinyled. And this big shift boot that surrounds the transfer case, which is set pretty far back compared to most 4x4s of the day. Here you have your diff actuated for your front and rear lockers, and all this does work. I ran through it briefly, but awesome seat space in the back. Already went through how this opens, but you know, it's just nice and boxy and roomy with tons of headroom. Moving around to the boot or the trunk, it's pretty cavernous. Opens right up. Again, it opens a different way, I think, than I'm used to coming from the right side, but it shows you how much more room and how much extra space is there when you don't have all the extra padding and whatnot. The boxy design really does reign superior when it comes to that storage, cargo, and people moving. As you can see, this is better than, you know, most trunk space of something that doesn't have a third row. I mean, that's fairly impressive for such a car with such a small wheelbase. You know, a little more on the interior though, it does have certain features, right? It does have power windows, it has a stereo, aftermarket or not, I'm not sure. And you know, there are enough creature comforts to make it a livable product, but still retain that attractive, you know, industrial feel. All right, next let's fire up this little inline six. Get it all open. Quite beefy still. Where does this go? All right, Mercedes. This is an M110. I remembered. It's an inline six M110, 140 horsepower, something like that. Fires right up. Does the things, right? Just ticks along as it should. You know, 49,000 miles, right? I mean, it is old, right? It's coming on 40 years old. 45 years old, but that does pay a little bit of homage to that Mercedes build quality. Real healthy. Now, nothing is without its flaws, and I'm not a G-Wagon expert on the way that these things have, or their major issues, or where they rust, or the critical failure points. So I can't really speak to much of that, but what I can speak to is it runs and drives very well. No major issues that I am aware of. The AC doesn't work. That's the only thing, probably needs a charge. It's not something the owners had diagged with us, but I want to point out some cosmetic flaws that, again, I'm not sure what the remedy is, but are very common on G-Wagons that have been imported to the US and ones that have lived here. And it happens almost years, and I don't really know what the cause is around some of the bodywork here and whatnot. I think these might rust more frequently than Defenders, just because they are built at a higher standard. I know there's more metal and whatnot that is susceptible to you know, certain corrosion factors, and it's not just a bunch of panels that have been assembled in the shed. So again, I don't know if there's any reality to any of those things, but it is something to kind of consider. And this one does not suffer from a slight amount of body related corrosion. That does not translate to the frame and the rest of the mechanicals. That looks great. We'll go check it out right now. All right, checking out the underside, all neat and tidy under there. Obviously the frame and whatnot is still super solid and not impacted by any corrosion whatsoever. No major leaks. It looks great all the way around, all four corners. Like I said, the only things that I've really seen on G-Wagons, at least the ones we've seen at the shop, is again, these kind of body related issues, probably due to drainage leaks or just the way the panels are fitted. Again, I'm not an expert. I can't really shed those type of details on those concerns. But with that being said, at this price point, the lowest price point, as far as our lowest point of entry for a hero car, this makes a lot of sense, especially as something you're gonna keep, drive, love, and enjoy. You really can't get much better for that $20,000 to $30,000 range as far as miles per gallon, enjoyment, usability, versatility in a classic, interesting vehicle. I think this checks all those boxes. You know, it's got heritage. It's a good story. It's a good discussion point. It'll turn heads at any type of car meet you go to, and it can be presumed that there is some inherent reliability associated with something with, you know, the build quality that this seems to possess. Again, it feels rock solid every time I drive it. Oh, it doesn't need tires. Tires are a little bit old. They're TA BF Goodrich All-Terrain. So if you're interested in this truck, G-Wagon, Puck, whatever you want to call it, shoot me an email or message me on Instagram at Addicted Motors or addicted.motors.us@gmail.com. So that's it for today. That's it for the fun little Mercedes. I'm going to take it back to the shop and in this 100-degree heat, and we'll catch you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. Check me out. See ya.